Live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Double D Podcast, breaking down the news of the week and whatever else is on our mind with a little bit of wrestling mixed in for taste, sort of like cinnamon. So grab some Doritos and a Diet Coke, then sit back and relax because it's time for the Double D with your host and self-proclaimed pop culture experts, Damian Nelson and David Hero.
Welcome, fans, to this week's edition of the Double D Podcast. Damian Nelson sitting here with David Hero. David?
Yes. Hey.
How are you here on June 16th? 6/16/16. 666.
That's kind of awkward.
Yeah, it'll happen a couple more times, like once a month this year.
Will it?
Well, a 6, a 6, a 6, a 6, and a 6 will be in the numbers because it's... No, it won't. It'll only happen in June.
Just June.
This is a monumental day. How do you want to celebrate this monumental day on 666?
It's not really 666. It's 16.
Did you see
Say that
666? Those ones don't. They just like they're like silent.
Well, we definitely need to go out then tonight.
Right. Yes.
Why not? Make it worth its while.
Here's the thing, though, and here on the Double D, we talk about everything. There's some wrestling sprinkled in, as the intro said. We're going to talk about a lot today, obviously, because there's a lot going on in the world. But you talk about going out, and here's why I hesitate going out, David Hero, with you. Well, because I don't want you to get into a fight with your bodyguard like Justin Bieber did recently.
Bro, if you're out with me, that is the safest you're ever going to be.
Really? Really?
When have you ever been in harm's way with me?
Oh, sweet Jesus. How many digits do I need? Let's see. I can
Is
count
that a shot
the
at my
time.
toes?
Well, you see, here's the thing.
Really?
You always accuse me of disappearing when we go out, when in fact, in reality, you're the one who disappears into a different part of the facility every time we go out.
I like to be comfortable.
Clearly, you do.
I like couches.
But, okay, so you saw this video of Biebs.
Yes.
Or maybe you didn't. It was on TMZ.
Oh, no, I saw it. Yeah,
fighting with what appeared to be his bodyguard, who Bieber was, full of spit and vinegar, and his bodyguard simply just took him down to the ground and let him be. Poor Justin Bieber. He's got some challenges going on right now.
He is throwing down with a dude that's big.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight.
I know, but still, there's a lot of small dogs that don't stand a chance against bigger dogs.
That is true, and he didn't stand a chance because I don't think he landed a punch or got anywhere into it. But here's Bieber's challenges. We've heard about them. He's sick of the Hollywood life. He is sick of signing autographs. He's sick of... Yes, that's what he said.
I know, but...
It gets taxing being on all the time, David Hero. I know this. When you're always on...
A gazillionaire to sign autographs that are not legible.
He's not quite gazillionaire status yet.
He's up there.
That's Floyd Mayweather, who just bought a second private plane.
Oh, good for him.
Are you on the money team?
No.
Why not?
I'm not a Mayweather guy.
Really? Why not? Because of that domestic situation?
Yeah, I just can't.
Was he convicted or accused?
It doesn't matter. When you have that kind of money, things wash away.
You're alleging.
No, I'm not alleging. Tell me it's not true.
But are you not guilty until convicted?
No. Are you not on social media? You're guilty no matter what happens.
That's not the court of law.
It's a
court of public opinion.
You can still be guilty and not be charged. Look at OJ.
Technically, he's not guilty.
Come on,
He's not guilty.
Stop it.
So you don't support the courts? You don't believe the courts have the final say?
No, it's a broken system.
How is it broken?
Because it only benefits certain people.
How does it only benefit certain people?
If you have money, you benefit.
You can buy a better legal team, absolutely, and they can work the system better. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But they're doing so within the confines of the law, so that's not the court's problem.
I've done well in the court system. I have. I have no complaints, but it is a broken system. They make you jump through ridiculous hoops. It's not all black and white. It's a lot of shades of gray. It's just too bad. It's like our government. The whole world is a big shade of gray.
50 Shades of Grey?
Well, for some people.
Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Copy that.
Well, I mean, is there a reason to? I mean, I've known people like that.
What do you mean like that?
That are like that character in the movie.
Okay. I don't know. I know that some middle-aged women who talk about sex. That's all I know about the movie.
Oh, yeah. It's yeah. Talk about, yeah. You should watch it sometime.
You know, David, you talk about the government, and we'll touch on the issue at hand for this
Frickin'
week,
hot here today, isn't it?
that's just me, which is the unfortunate tragedies down in Orlando this weekend. Of course, centerpieced by the 49 people who lost their lives. And obviously, that is just a horrible story and a horrible situation. But a lot of people have talked a lot about the situation and not necessarily what happened, but what led to it happening and how it happened. And I gave my take on Real Talk on Tuesday, right here on our YouTube channel and on the PWR Now Network. I have more to say, especially after hearing more about the situation and the story. And regardless of all this, there's only one thing that matters in this story, and that is the 49 people who lost their lives in this horrible tragedy, who were not deserving of the fact that they were victims of this crime. So we'll I guess preface this with that, and it's a very unfortunate situation, but there are many chapters in this story. Layers in this story, of course, and the one layer is the shooter himself, the weapons he used, the access he had to the weapons.
The shooter himself is like 15 layers.
Yeah, that is true. More being peeled back on a daily basis. Should his wife be charged?
Absolutely.
She knew something was going to happen.
Everything was going on.
I'm not sure if that's the case. She knew enough to be charged. I absolutely agree with you. She knew something was going to happen and didn't tell somebody. So maybe Donald Trump's right in that regard, where all the Muslims know what the other Muslims are doing, because that's what he said. Basically.
Well, they're all connected somehow.
Somehow, because they're Muslims. So all us African Americans know what each other are doing as well too.
You guys don't.
But if the Muslims do, how do we not?
You guys don't get along as well.
I'm just trying to understand Trump logic.
Well,
aren't a lot of us? No, that's Islam.
Yeah.
Do they all know what each other's doing?
Yeah, they got that special little book that, like, you saw the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The Book of Mormon?
Yeah, well, they open the book and all the spirits and stuff come out and everything.
Actually, I've never seen that movie in its entirety. Is that the one with the nunchucks and the gun? When Harrison Ford just shoots the guy?
That's the sword and the gun.
It was nunchucks.
No, it's a big sword.
Was it?
Yeah. Bro. And you make fun of me for not watching Seinfeld?
Feld. Not felt. Seinfeld.
That's a difference.
Yes. So, yes, we agree. She should be charged. All right. So now here's the big story. Now listen to the Jim Cornette Experience. And you know how Jimmy Cornette is.
He's animated.
He's animated. And he said he committed a crime on his podcast this week, and they cleaned it up as best they could. Because he basically threatened the life of Donald Trump, at least from what I can ascertain, before they bleeped and bleeped and bleeped. And hearing Cornette go on a rant with bleeps is almost better than the rant itself. It was radio gold. But be that as it may, he talked a lot about gun control. And I think it's interesting that regardless of well, let me back up. And I talked about this on Real Talk. A lot of people talk about the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, quote unquote. At least that's what the NRA has lobbied for people to believe that it is, National Rifle Association. And then talked about
it is?
Reading the amendment itself, which and then reading constitutional experts' interpretation of that amendment. It was to ensure that we, the people, could protect our. We, the people, is that how it was? We, the people, could protect ourselves against an uprising of our government. That was the intent of the Second Amendment from 200 years ago, and it does not even say everyone should have the right to bear arms. It says that there are other words in between, but it's been paraphrased to the right to bear arms. So that's not the full interpretation
been tweaked for convenience.
Well, no, the fact of the matter is I think it was the early 90s or maybe even earlier, the National Rifle Association started communicating and making sure people knew their Second Amendment right, and that's when it became the right to bear arms. So it was the NRA that did it, and that's an evil organization with blood on their hands, in my opinion. But so everybody's leaning on the Second Amendment and saying that they have a right to have guns. This guy had a right to buy this gun. He went through the legal means to do it, and all that's true.
He did.
He did not break any laws in purchasing these weapons. The challenge that people are talking about and asking about is, well, if he didn't break any laws to get these weapons and did so in such a close relative time frame to when he executed these crimes, is there a flaw in the system with being able to take possession of these weapons, whether it's a AR-15 or a .22 caliber handgun?
I think if you're going for an assault rifle, you need at least 30-day clearance on that.
What happens in those 30 days, though? Because, like, it's a cooling off period. That's why the waiting periods are there. Right. So if you piss me off and I decide to go down the road to go to a gun store and buy a gun, I got to wait and think about it.
Right.
However, if I go to a gun show down at the expo center, I can buy one and walk out the door with it.
Yes.
Again, that flawed system you talked about. And those laws, all of that is being protected by the NRA, who's giving all the Republicans money. It's all documented. All these Republicans who just last week voted against a bill to further restrict gun purchases by criminals, all just disgusting and dirty.
In every way of life.
It does not.
You've been to bikini contests.
I have been to bikini contests, yes.
You know how certain girls will rub the judge's shoulders and...
She's just working her art, her craft.
Go for a walk around the cabana. Maybe you...
A walk around the cabana?
Well, they want to be nurses. You know?
Thought they were putting themselves through college.
Well, that's the other way they do it. And, you know, that's how you get the payoff, you know? Something about scratching backs.
Well, I believe hard work matters, but I also believe
filthy.
that everything, yes, is God has struck you down.
I shouldn't have made the comment about the head nursing stuff, should I?
No, those were the Republicans. Oh. That's what just happened. They heard they thought you were a card-carrying member.
Let me go see what I can do.
No, I will take care of this. I will let you finish your point about the bikini contest. Well, and you've got, what is that next to you, by the way?
Well, actually, funny you should ask. They're doing the Rock Girl Hot Chick contest here in Milwaukee.
The Rock Girl Hot Chick?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's the 102.9, you know, the Hog, and they're looking for their Rock Girl, and these are the finalists. And
are you a judge?
I'm a liaison.
What do you liaise?
I liaison, and I give input and advice and theory. I make sure they know it's not all about the high spots. You know,
well, it's usually about the low spots, right?
Sometimes it's about a good back rake. You know,
you're saying everything's filthy. I agree with you, but hard work does matter, and everything being filthy is to a degree everything that is filthy is within the existing laws that exist that allow it to be filthy, and some of those laws are filthy to allow the filth.
At the end of the day, it's to the victor goes the spoils.
How so?
Whoever wins gets to take care of all their buddies.
Because
their
buddies have helped them get there.
Exactly. You want to take care of the circle.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like, I would never do it. If I would ever go for public office, you'd be my guy.
Wow. Wait a minute.
I would
Senator Hero.
No, governor.
Governor? You got to start somewhere.
I'd rather be governor than senator.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that wouldn't end well. It would end greatly, actually, but it wouldn't end well.
But you know what? I mean, if it were to be, you know what we could do? Because
what can we do?
I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for president this year. I really haven't, because I'm not a fan of either. I think both are going to be terrible. We should just write ourselves in.
Everybody should write themselves. You said this before in this podcast.
No, I think write myself or write you in. How great would that be?
Let me be crystal clear here. I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to ever be in the figurehead position that is the President of the United States.
You know what, though? But there's times like when I'm listening to President Obama's speech or talk or whatever, and I close my eyes, I swear to God I hear you.
Or we're both well-educated black men.
Yes. And just some of the sarcasm, the things he says, I'm like, I'll be good goddamn that was Damian Nelson. Seriously. You know? Especially when I hear him talk about Trump, and you can just hear the disdain in his voice about certain things.
But you know what? It's interesting. The hatred a lot of people have for Trump within his own party and on the other side in the Democratic Party is the same hatred that a lot of people had for Barack Obama when he first ran.
So what does that mean? Trump's going to be president for?
They're both outsiders in generally speaking. They weren't following that good old boy system, if you will. Trump didn't follow it. Barack Obama didn't follow it, and they were breaking a system that they had rigged, because they rigged the system for Rubio, by the way, did the Republicans this year, and it completely backfired on them. And if you don't follow that system, those friends, that filth, all that stuff comes into play, and you get pushed out of said system.
That Hollywood hasn't picked a side yet?
No, they haven't picked a side, but they've definitely voiced their opposition to a particular side, that being the side of Trump.
Right, but they haven't embraced Hillary.
No, because she's not embraceable.
Be careful how you say that.
She's not embraceable.
Are you saying because she's a woman, she's not embraceable?
No, I'm saying because she is a career-long politician with a lot of debts to pay off, and she is not embraceable for that.
How bad would she be as president?
I think she'll be fine. I don't think she'll be horrible. She'll be fine. I mean, she was the wife for 8 years, so she learned a lot, right?
She couldn't control her own husband.
Okay, seriously?
Yeah.
Because he got a nibble.
He got more than that.
Because he got a nibble in the Oval.
He had like 4 or 5.
It is every man's dream on this planet to get a blowjob in the Oval Office. Is it not yours?
I've never
you
thought of it.
You can't say that. It is. Talk about, so I'm in the Oval, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, blue dress. Come on. That's a, I think I may have gained more respect for Bill Clinton when he did that.
Well, no, I get it and all, but it's just like, right? I mean, 4 or 5 different women.
What do you mean 4 or 5? Kennedy had more than Clinton ever had.
That's different.
How's it different?
Different.
Because it was Marilyn Monroe?
Yes. Yes. Oh, dude, let's not go back to the frickin' Sizzler buffet and then a prime rib. Okay? There's a big difference between the two of them.
Cheating is cheating.
Of course it is.
Clinton just got caught.
If you are going to cheat, you need to always cheat up.
But here are the different times, though. Clinton wouldn't have gotten... Kennedy never got caught. Everybody thought, and people know.
Yeah?
people know what he was doing. But it never got out because the times were different back then.
Yeah. It was
Clinton's even times were different in 90, whenever that was. I think it was 97, 98, just before he got reelected because nobody cared. But that got out because times were different. But... we've talked about it. I watch the television show Scandal, and I watch it and love it so much because I think that a lot of the stuff that they're doing on that show is stuff that's really happening in Washington.
And who would say no to Kerry Washington?
I don't think there's anybody on this planet who would say no to Kerry Washington.
Not at all.
All right, so let me ask you this, and maybe I'll share I'll ask your opinion first in an effort not to be accused of skewing your opinion. But how should a person in this country today? How should the laws? We'll say on a federal level, just because that makes it consistent.
Okay.
What should be the process for purchasing a gun? Well, no, let me back up. Do you feel that AR-15 type assault rifles should be in the hands of the general population? Okay. So whatever guns are available, what process do you think should be in place to purchase said weapons?
I think the only type of weapons you should be able to purchase are ones that maxing out as what hunters would use.
Okay. One could argue a hunter would use an AR-15.
What are you hunting?
There could be a whole flock of deer. Get them all.
But that's not the game then. That's not part of the game of hunting.
In duck hunt, there were a lot of birds. An AR-15 would have helped.
Okay. It should be at minimum a 2-week thorough background check. But you know what? Everything is just rubber stamped.
So if you
you know what it is? It's the people that are in charge of these licenses and the guns and everything and the waiting periods are the same people that work in TSA.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yep. They're doing a job.
They're doing a job. They're putting in their 40 hours a week. They're just going to rubber stamp it. They're not going to go in depth the way they should. Look at how many things you've snuck through TSA over the years. It's insane.
There was that one toy, but I just forgot it was in there. Mm-hmm. All right. So 2 weeks.
At
no
least.
Assault weapons.
No.
But that, based on what you just said, that wouldn't really do anything if we're just rubber stamping the applications.
That's all they're doing right now is rubber stamping everything.
Well, I think it's different state by state. I know it's different state by state, so I'm not sure what the federal guidelines are for purchasing a weapon.
But again, look at TSA.
Which are civilian positions, run by the government.
Which are supposed to keep us safe.
Have they not?
I don't think that they are very thorough at all.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I think we've been very fortunate that nothing else bad has happened over the years, but some are very good at what they do. And the others, I would love to see the test they took in Cran.
So, in my opinion, there is a Second Amendment written hundreds of years ago. And by the way, we've been amending the Constitution since it was created, and a lot of these weapons didn't exist back in that time. So I'm pretty sure the founding fathers.
Drones didn't exist back then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure their their goal was not to allow weapons of mass destruction, which is what I'm calling these things, to be allowed into the hands of just anybody in this country. Now, I would like to say this. I am a gun enthusiast. My favorite gun to shoot is the AR-15. I absolutely love doing it. Do I need to own one? No. Would I like to be able to get my hands on one to use at a shooting range or somewhere in a controlled environment? Absolutely. That's all I need it for. But I feel that there should be, yes, a federally mandated waiting period for the purchase of weapons. And it should be the Federal Bureau of Investigation that does the background checks during that waiting period. So even if you need to wait 6 months to get this gun, guess what? Your Second Amendment right is still being withheld because you still can get the gun, right? You just have to follow the rules to get it. And if you are found, if you have anything more than a parking ticket, you are not entitled to get this gun.
You know, though, but let's be honest. In theory, it all makes tremendous sense. It does. The war on drugs has done nothing. Okay? Not a bit. It's more prevalent now than ever before. These guns will still get in the hands of the bad guys because there's so many crooked people in this world.
That was the next piece of what I would do, which is there's a minimum sentence of no fewer than 25 years. If you are found in possession of, knowingly in possession of.
Some of it is our government people selling these things.
Well, at times. But that's why you start over. You create harsh penalties.
Okay.
You create harsh guidelines.
What was it when the Obama administration did that whole thing where they were going to sell weapons to some cartel or drug lord, and all of a sudden the weapons were gone? You don't think that's a huge problem?
No, not at all. That's outside the country. Doesn't affect me.
But that shit will wind up back in this country.
Just like Iran-Contra, just like every other administration before, there's been some type of gun scandal.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't. I'm an arrogant American. I'm sorry. I appreciate and respect what's going on in other countries. I don't think we are the world police, and I don't worry about that stuff. Yes, you're right. It may end up back in this country. The one fact of all this is I don't think in this situation, Orlando, that it would have been the case. But in general, if a real terrorist and a real terrorist organization wanted to attack us, they will, no matter what we do.
I don't
because
know if they're
they
going
can.
to again. I don't know if they're going to. I doubt we'll have another 9/11 on our hands.
I
really don't believe
there's still a lot of gaping holes in our national security.
Right, but
the shipping ports being the biggest one.
I don't believe we will have that kind of tragedy again.
Well, we never had and probably won't again. I would agree with you, yeah.
Because everything is, our government knows more than we know.
Absolutely. That's the other thing.
You know, they know way too much. They know when stuff is going to happen, and they can help facilitate things.
Well, if you ask Donald Trump, the president knew that this Orlando attack was going to happen, which is just a disgusting statement for a person who thinks he can be president to make.
Wait, so he knew a gay Muslim was going to shoot up a gay club?
According to Donald Trump, that's what he said.
Then he should become president. If you have those kind of superpowers...
No, he's alleging that our current president knew and did nothing of it before it happened.
Well, maybe. Who knows? Bro, listen, I hate to be that guy.
No, I want you to clean this up because you've just said that maybe our president knew this was going to happen and didn't do anything about it. That's what you just said.
Maybe he has people around him that heard that this could happen.
Nobody knew that this guy was going to do this.
He's been on the radar for how long?
Okay, he was on the radar twice. First, for things he said. The First Amendment protected them from doing anything to him about that. The second was for an assumed affiliation with the guy who went to Syria and blew himself up. That proved to be unfounded as well. So both those things, it would have been a violation of his constitutional rights, the same as his Second Amendment right people were talking about, for them to do anything about it.
Do you think our government, our FBI and CIA really care about our constitutional rights? If they smell something,
they're forced to care.
They're going to be watching it?
No, they're forced to care. We tried after 9/11 with things like the Patriot Act, and George W. Bush, rightfully so, tried to take away a lot of those constitutional rights to catch these criminals. I full-heartedly 100% agree with that. The Dems blocked it because of the Constitution mattered to them at that point. But to say that the government is intentionally sweeping some things under the rug, I think is false.
No, I honestly believe that.
I think that is a malicious, violent statement that should not be made. What I think is truly happening is they don't have the full resources to do what they need to do when they do find out about these things. There are 1,000 federal agents in this country.
So Benghazi.
1,000 federal agents.
Let's talk about Benghazi. They didn't try to sweep anything under any rugs?
Do you know for a fact that they did?
I'm not saying I know the whole story because none of us are privileged.
And
to
we
have
shouldn't
all those
because we don't
facts.
need to know that stuff.
But you don't. There's not a bone in your body that doesn't think something's fishy about that.
I think that the government has released enough information that they can release and made themselves look worse than they needed to look in the effort of ongoing national security. I absolutely believe
That's
that.
not what
yes.
I asked you. I said, is there a bone in your body that says something is not fishy?
No, I don't think anything's fishy about it at all.
Really?
Given what I just said, the government can't tell us everything. And if any of you out there, and if you think that they need to tell us everything,
I don't want
they're
them
also
to.
telling the terrorists and the criminals everything.
No, I agree.
So yes, many times they will take a fall and make themselves look stupid for something that is of a greater situation that will be less beneficial to them and make them look silly for the greater good of ultimately protecting us. Those who work in high positions, those who are in high government positions, can never get the full credit for the good that they do because they can't toot their horn for the successes that they have in private because it can't be released publicly. That is what they're dealing with. I believe everything I've been told about Benghazi. Do I believe there's more to the story? Absolutely there is more that we should not know. I am not the Supreme Court. I am not a person who should make the decision as to whether or not anybody did anything right or
Hillary
wrong.
Clinton should be indicted?
No.
Why not?
Why should she be?
For all the email controversies and everything.
So what? Her emails were, she used
So
emails on a
even
private
though-
server.
even
Did
though-
anything happen?
We don't know that.
We do know that.
You just said
Because
they
the
don't give
FBI
us all the information.
As far as what the FBI has released so far, nothing got out.
Okay.
You're assuming that information got out.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking.
You just said I don't think that it got out. You just insinuated that I am being
all I'm
naive and saying that it
is
didn't get out when it
they
did.
don't give us all the information.
They don't. But you just said Hillary Clinton should be indicted.
No, I didn't say that. I
You
said,
asked me if she should be. I said
Yes.
no. You said really.
yeah, I'm surprised.
So
would
you
say
think
no.
she should be indicted?
I don't have all the information. I can't.
So you're saying you don't think she should be
I
indicted?
don't know if she should or should not.
Okay. If you had to say answer, you just asked me for an answer. I gave you the answer.
Yeah, because you're
What about
smarter
your
at this
answer?
than I am. I don't know.
I'm not smarter at it. We've gotten the same information.
I think there should definitely be an investigation.
There is. There was. She had to testify.
I think
to
it should. It should. Dude, that's like going in front of the family and saying, hey,
Oh, it was a whack job. And it was
Exactly, yeah.
intentionally a whack job to her to thwart her presidential efforts. The politics of it got involved with that. Nobody cared about Benghazi until she started running for president. Period.
You don't think so?
Nobody cared about it until she started running. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. No one cared about her action or lack of action until she began running for president.
But don't you think that's like a big foundation of her presidency? To see if she can be a strong leader because of that?
She hasn't used that.
What I'm saying is the way she handled it is pretty big. It's obviously a hot button. It's a hot topic for a lot of people. Do you think she handled it the right way?
I think that with the information that I know about the situation, there was a failure at some point. I don't believe it was all her, but she accepted responsibility.
They blamed a YouTube video.
They gave a okay, so they're going to come out right away and say, yes, this was a terrorist attack. Come on, bring more. You won. Do it again. You want them to do that right away.
No, but you can't say it's because of a YouTube video.
They gave they gave us, because we need to know, they gave us the information that they felt we needed to know.
I would rather
whether
them
it was
not
true
tell
or not.
me anything than say.
But see, that's the thing. Most people won't settle for that. Then they'll say they're hiding stuff.
They blamed a YouTube video. Come on.
Initially, they did say that that was a contributor. Yes.
Yes.
And then did they or did they not release more information
Well, they
saying it
had
wasn't
to
that?
later. They had
Why'd
to.
they have to?
Because it was so preposterous.
How was it
so
preposterous?
ridiculous.
You are just minimized it by saying they blamed a YouTube video that called for action, a YouTube video that tried to incite people to create an attack over in Benghazi.
Bro,
so it wasn't just a
how many
YouTube
YouTube
video.
videos
This
are
guy
out there
from
that
Orlando
incite?
is saying that it was all this internet propaganda that caused him to do what he did.
Yeah.
So a YouTube video is much more impactful than the impression you
You're
just tried to
getting
give.
kinda heated about
I'm not
this.
giving. I'm not getting heated. You're attempting to blame people for things where there is no
Who have I
evidence that
blamed?
they should be blamed for anything. Hillary Clinton.
No, I just asked what you thought about how she handled Benghazi. And if you thought she handled that good or not good, this is a person that could
There were
be
errors.
running our country.
Okay, yes,
Now,
she
hey,
could be.
don't get me wrong. The fact of putting Trump in that spot terrifies me. I'm not going to kid you, okay? Because his patience is worse than mine. He has none. And he's extremely heated and opinionated, and he doesn't care. He will do whatever he wants. Fortunately, it takes two people to turn the keys. Okay? I just think we're in trouble with either one. And what happened this last week in Florida with that singer getting shot in the head, with the catastrophe at Pulse nightclub, to even that alligator get a little boy. And we haven't
It's a
even
bad
talked-
weekend for Orlando.
Oh, and I'm
For the world.
And it's just like 3 huge, painful catastrophes. There's more coming.
They
This
usually
is-
come in threes.
This is the tip of the iceberg, man, because we are,
But-
as a nation here, we are so arrogant and we are so cocky and we think we're untouchable. Look what happened.
Let me ask you this. So, Sandy Hook, I think that was the one where the
Yes.
20 or 25 kids got killed,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We did absolutely nothing as a nation. Our Congress, our senators, our president did absolutely nothing as a nation to change anything to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. Why will this be any different? Nothing will change again until the next time this happens, and then we'll have 5 weeks of talk about it, and nobody will do anything.
I think for the next couple weeks, the smoke screen of stuff possibly happening will be going on, and then there will be another tragedy that will come up that will take up the next 10 days worth of TV news.
Do you think he was actually associated with ISIS in an official capacity?
Not at all. No.
Do you think that they're using the term ISIS? And now, granted, he said this now, but he said a bunch of other things. Like he said, he was aligned with other groups that aren't completely opposite of ISIS.
He was a confused gay Muslim man that didn't know where he stood in society.
But why are they still trying to make the ISIS connection? And why are some people still saying that this was an ISIS
Because
attack?
that's the number one bad guy for us.
Because you got to attach it to something.
Yeah. Because here's why. It's the rally cry. ISIS did it.
Yep.
Oh my God. And ISIS took credit for it. Why not? Hey, yeah, of course. Hey, blame us because now you're all scared again. Even though we haven't, come on.
Well, they're gonna. That's gonna be interesting when they find out he was gay, because they don't necessarily condone that.
Imagine what they would say. Would they then say, no, he wasn't with us
Whoops.
then?
Let me ask you. All right, so Survivor
the whole
Series.
thing is so confusing.
Atlanta last year. Remember there was that credible ISIS threat came from the FBI.
And we
It
were
was
the
a big deal.
dumbasses that still walked into the building.
No. Let's be real here. When we talked about this when it came out, it's like, okay. My attitude about it was, okay, it's a credible threat. It's a known threat. We'll be taken care of. Nothing's going to happen.
We were sitting taping the podcast with Gene Okerlund, and I'm looking out the hotel windows, and there's helicopters.
Yep.
all
But
over
didn't
the
that
place.
provide you with a sense of security?
Oh my God! And the same thing with the troops, with the military, with all the guns outside
Yep.
the building. I'm like, well, if it's gonna go down,
It's meant to go down.
it's gonna happen now. You know what I mean?
Right. But from the moment I entered that building to the moment I left, didn't think about it, wasn't bothered by it. I'm like, hey, we know about it. It's not going to happen if we know about it. And we've
Right.
told the world we know you're going to do it, so they're not going to do it. Because
They were that adamant against Roman Reigns winning the title. That's the part.
and he still won.
He still won. Hey, Vince was on a mission. He's going to prove his point.
It was, okay, so back to this weekend's events. Our president has reacted. Our Republican nominee for president has reacted. Our Democratic nominee for president has reacted. How do you feel about those reactions so far?
I think it sucks. I think that all they've done has blame game back and forth on each other, argued between each other, and they should take that effort and that passion and that anger and that everything they got there and use it to try to fix this problem instead of bash each other. I mean, Trump came out, wrong wording, guns a-blazing, okay? Come on, but how else can I describe it?
It's true.
Okay? And Obama was waiting. He had it, he was
He waited a good 2 or 3 days before he
well, here's
lashed
why.
out, though.
Because he's smart.
Yes.
And he wanted his words to be knife cutting, I guess. He wanted,
They were.
Yes. He wanted to make sure he had the proper word, the right dialogue. He wanted each word to sting.
Yep.
He wanted well thought out answers and not just shoot from the hip.
How does Donald Trump not have that person sitting next to him saying, Donald, let's talk about this first? before he sends out tweets or goes on stage and says the incendiary things that he does.
Because let's face it, there are some people in this country that idolize him.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But
And it's working.
He's on a different stage right now. It worked. It's not working. It worked. It worked for the Republican primaries. It's not working in the general. It will not. It can't. If he does not change his course, and the Republicans have acknowledged this, it will not work in a general election when you're talking the entire populace versus the Republican registered in many cases populist. He appealed to them. But regardless, anybody on a national stage, a CEO of a company, has that person next to them saying, maybe we say it this way. Maybe, okay, we can do the same thing, but maybe we change this one word. He has been proudly saying he sends his own tweets out. Clearly, he sends his own tweets out. And I do appreciate the fact that he feels he's being honest, but I do also appreciate the fact that he is also being very dangerous. Because when you provide ammunition to those who already think we hate them as a country, you're doing nothing but encouraging them to take further action, in my opinion.
I don't know who's going to stand up to him.
I can't wait for the first debate. It's going to be a good one. I can't. What do you think he's going to call her? What do you think? It's Crooked Hillary for now, but what do you think it's going to? Because he talked about what that the lady was, it Fiona or whatever, not Fiona Apple, Carly Fiorina, and talked about a lot of stuff about her to her face on the stage. He's going to try those same antics again. But what do you think he's going to say about Clinton?
I wouldn't be surprised if he ties in something with Bill and his infidelity.
We should do a Be the Booker for the when the first debate happens.
Oh my gosh, it terrifies me.
Or we should do live commentary on the debate.
Ratings on that.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge
because she is going to not back down.
Nope.
And he is going to go forward.
Let me ask you this: do you think that most people in this country view Hillary Clinton as a woman? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, because when you take actions against a woman, it's viewed as pretty much more substantial. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because they're quote unquote weaker. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's the sentiment in the country.
And this has caused a lot of people a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Because people say she doesn't smile enough, she's not inviting enough, she's not womanly enough.
What is that?
Barbara Bush.
Ah, yes. Sweet old woman.
Golden Girls.
Sweet old women.
You don't see anything sweet or endearing about Hillary Clinton.
Not at all. Not at all. No.
Who is the chick from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Lady Elaine. That's who she reminds me of. Remember, she was...
I only remember the conductor guy, Trolley, and Mr. Rogers. I don't remember any other characters from that show.
Google it later. Lady Elaine. There's nothing... And she doesn't have to be, quote-unquote, feminine. But it's like when she smiles, even the smile, there's nothing warm about it.
No, she's not inviting at all.
I mean, Barack Obama.
He's charming.
Very charming.
Yeah.
Okay? Even George Bush, as goofy as he was...
That was his charm, though.
That was his charm.
About George W. Bush, a lot of people would say, and I was one of those people who's like, I could go party with that guy all night long.
And he would.
Be a blast.
And he used to.
George Carlin, Lewis Black then did a bit about it. Say, you know what? If you ever think and watch a candidate for president and say, I'd like to have a beer with that guy, don't vote for him. Which is so true. But,
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an emotionless person since Dan Quayle.
Yeah.
And that's Hillary Clinton. And that makes me nervous.
She cried, remember, in the last campaign? I think when she realized she was losing, she cried in that diner and everybody said it was fake.
Alligator tears. Which is the wrong week to mention that. I'm sorry. It's not a too soon. I'm not trying to be a dick.
It's a term.
It's a term.
It is a term.
But like this week, it's like everything I want to say, I got to think about.
Are you scared?
Terrified.
Really?
Yeah.
Of another attack of some sort?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm of these two presidential candidates.
No, there's no fixing any of this. We're screwed regardless of what happens.
I honestly don't believe we'll ever have another 9/11 on our hands. I think it'll be events like Orlando. I think it'll be events...
Lone Wolf events.
Yeah. lone wolf, and even that is a bullshit term.
How so?
Because it's not. Some of these are copycats. I don't even consider them lone
absolutely.
wolves,
Yeah.
You know?
Which is why we shouldn't pay as much attention as even we have to the shooter.
They're just, I mean, like this shooter was just mentally unstable.
Posting on Facebook, calling the news, making sure they knew it was him when he was doing it, when the lockdown, when the holdout was happening for 3 hours. Yeah. Yeah, he clearly had some issues. But there are a lot of people in this country right now with the same issues documented that could walk in and buy a gun and do the same thing.
Right, and here's the thing that's terrifying. We now, as a nation, we need to be more aware of what we're doing and where we're going and who's around us.
But doesn't that mean we all lose? Like if I go to a movie theater and I'm scared that somebody's going to walk in and
You don't think that? You don't wonder? Okay.
I don't really.
I prepare myself for just about every situation I go into.
Well, there's a difference though. Preparing is different because anytime I've gone anywhere, I'm looking at exits, I'm looking at how I got in, how I'm going to get out, regardless, because there could be a fight behind me. Anything could happen. So that has not changed, and maybe that's why it hasn't changed me because I've always been that way. But I'm not scared of. I realize it could happen. I'm aware. But that was one thing W said after 9/11 is we must go on. We cannot live in fear. Things will change, but we cannot live in fear because then the terrorists are winning.
We should always have a little bit of fear in the back of our mind.
I think we do. I think we're all bred that way.
Yeah.
As human beings, I think. I hope. Anyways.
You know.
So we're going to talk about it on primetime. We'll button that issue up. Good discussion. Thank you for that. On primetime, we'll talk about it. But what about, and this is almost like, I can't say that. But this was another tragedy in the wrestling world, if you will, that came out of Orlando this past
and I
week.
couldn't even say that because it's not even in the same stratosphere.
I said in wrestling. I said in wrestling.
Yeah.
In wrestling. TNA got dealt a bad hand this past Tuesday night.
Bless
David
their
Hero.
hearts.
They can't catch a break.
I legit. I mean, and you know what? People think I hate TNA.
That's what I read on the internet.
It's not true. I have a lot of my friends, my legit buddies, my pals that work for that company that depend on them for their livelihood.
Yeah.
And I was excited to watch live Impact Wrestling Tuesday
I tuned
night.
in, David Hero.
I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Here we go. Where is it? Now, I've watched a few shows where networks get booted off the air. Maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes tops. Almost 2 hours? It's like, who is the toolbox
Same 6 commercials.
working in the IT department over there?
And how much irony was it that one of the commercials that was looping during that time period was about Impact on Tuesday nights? This is not TNA's, as far as we know, this is not TNA's fault at all.
They paid their bills.
We'll talk about that on primetime. But they just got the shortest end of the shortest stick this past Tuesday night for one of their best broadcasts they probably were going to put forward. And actually, it did air a couple times afterwards, and people did find it based on the viewership numbers that we've seen.
And
but
they also gave out the wrong time that was on.
The network did.
It doesn't matter, because who gave them the information? It all comes from the same place.
Well, I mean, a lot of things had to be in flux. I mean, the TNA's doing this. They did the show because it wasn't live per se. It was just taped
delayed.
earlier, but
It's a
it was still
delayed live.
relatively. And the show was done. Here network,
Well, no, it's
but the network's not going to get the blame. TNA is going to get the blame.
yeah. How bad was that?
It was almost to the point of being comical.
I mean,
That's how
you
bad it
have to
was.
feel bad for that. You do.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, you got to feel bad from Dixie all the way down because it's a comedy of errors.
Yes.
It really is.
They can't catch a break. They really can't.
No.
And they had a great Slammiversary. From a wrestling show
Yes,
standpoint, it was a
yes,
great show.
yes.
And to come out the heels of that was, again, we'll talk more about it on primetime. But I think that's enough of the Double D today. I think we've gone like 45 minutes here, David Hero, so good
Really?
job. Yeah.
Well done.
We are going to have Feedback Friday tomorrow.
Yes.
And then Primetime on Saturday and Primetime Extra on Saturday, where our guest on Saturday is going to be on Primetime Extra, Ken Anderson, who is going to talk about Money in the Bank. Remember, he's a former Money in the
Yes.
Bank winner.
Yes.
He's going to be with us on Primetime Extra, giving you his perspective on the matchup and what it's like to win that briefcase in that match. So all of that coming up here this weekend on the shows of the Pro Wrestling Report. So for that one, thank you so much for joining me here on the Double D podcast. We'll see you again tomorrow for Feedback Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Double D Podcast. If you like what you just heard, and we know you did, subscribe now and join us on Twitter by following @2DPod. This has been a production of PWR LLC. Join us next time for another edition of the Double D Podcast. Until then, take care of yourselves, because, well, no one else will. Deuces!